But what we're going to talk about today is an introduction to digital marketing techniques. I've tried to keep each technique quite succinct, or every channel quite succinct, because I really wanted to focus on what's new in each of the channels. So this is quite a mix of the basic stuff that you probably should be doing, or you may not be aware that agencies do, and then some of the new stuff that you need to be considering. And then my plan is to actually have a follow-on podcast with each of the members of the team where we'll go into the new techniques in a little bit more detail. So just to kick off then, first of all, I'm the founder and CEO of Annika Digital, and Annika's 16 years old. I haven't put a load of slides on Annika today because there's so much to go to. But what I have done is I have talked about this being a bit of a team effort. So this is actually our team of 25 or 26 of us. And you can see you've got the 3 directors, you've got the commercial and the strategist team, and then the technical and support team. And actually 6 people were involved in putting this presentation together. So we've got the paid media team, which is Holly and Emil. Holly's the head of paid media and Emil's the paid social strategist. We've got the earned and owned team, which is Brad and Katie. Ed's contributed a couple of slides, but he'd got so much stuff, we decided to put that into another week. And then James has been doing a lot of AI and added a few slides in on that side as well. So if we look at the sorts of stuff that we do as an agency, this gives you a really good idea of the sorts of things I'm going to be telling you about. But you can look at it from 2 perspectives. We can look at it of the services and the channels that we deliver, and we can also look at it of what ends up happening as a result of the work we do. But broadly speaking, we've got a team responsible for each of these. So we've got analytics and creative. We've got paid media, which includes both paid social and paid search. We've got PR, content, and SEO. And then social media is a bit of a weird one because it sort of comes into both sort of social, paid social and content. So that's a little bit of a mix. And then, as most of you are aware, we've got a training team as well, which delivers mainly boot camps, but also bespoke training on any of the aspects of what's included above. Now, we use this acronym of POETIC to describe what we do. We started off with POET, which is paid media, owned media, and earned media. That's pretty common, pretty universal in marketing. And then we added technical to include things like some of the new media, such as voice search, etc., but also all the tracking, analytics, AI, conversion rate optimization. And then more recently, we've added in insights and creative. And we've had a couple of presentations on creative, and this is our newest service. I don't think many people realize that we do creative, or we've got a digital creative team. So if anybody needs any help with their creative, this is a brand new team, and they're out there ready and waiting for any new opportunities to work with people. And of course, they also service all the other teams as well. So my focus for today is going to be on the PO bit. I believe that actually it's the tick that makes us different from other agencies. So what we're going to focus on today is the stuff that most people will do. And you'd also do most of this in-house as well. So that's going to be my main focus. So what I thought we would do is, if Katie, you can launch the poll, I'll just come out of the view screen so I can see the results as well. What we'd like you to do is tell us which digital marketing channels do you think are the biggest drivers of visitors and traffic to your website. If you could do that for me, then we can see what everybody is saying. So how's it going then, Katie? What sorts of results are you getting?
Well, I shared it, but so far I've not had any responses. So can people just... it's coming through. I had a panic then. Oh, wow. Well, every one so far says 17%. So 17% for... Oh, okay, it's changing. I'm a bit relieved about that. 33% SEO, 17% direct traffic, 17% paid traffic, 12% referral, 4% social, 12% email, and 12% display.
Now that's really interesting because a lot of people that are new to digital marketing often assume that social media is the biggest source, and we've got very few people that say that. So that's probably a reflection of the fact that lots of the people that come on our webinars are regulars, so they may be already aware of this. So I'm going to show you the results now. So thank you. I think SEO was the most popular, wasn't it?
36%, yes.
And then followed by direct, maybe?
Yeah, 25%.
Well, you guys.
And actually, there has been a bit of a change, 14% for social.
Well, you guys are actually going in the wrong direction. So what I've got SimilarWeb data for February. SimilarWeb is a tool. You can get some information for free, but we pay actually a couple of grand a month for it because it gives us so much information. And what I've done is I've created little industry groups. This is mainly desktop, so it does underrepresent social, but you can see that social media is really low. And this is for mainly home and garden e-commerce websites. And if you think about it, there's some really big brands that everybody will know. So direct is very important with 33%. Organic search, which is SEO, is by far is the highest at 41%. But this is also quite a competitive industry. So you've got a lot of paid search as well. So you can see that in this particular case, paid and organic traffic are the dominant ones. And if you actually look into the organic traffic, you'll see that a lot of that is actually for brand searches. And this is because this sector is full of brands that everybody knows. So most of the traffic goes to the really big brands like Next and Wayfair and Argos and people like that. The next one is really different, doors and windows, which is a mix. So this is often people like the big companies like Everest or SafeStyle UK, but it's also all your local companies. And you can see that here the direct traffic is quite a lot lower, about 2/3. You've still got a decent amount of organic, but you've got a lot of paid media, paid search. And the reason for this is that we find that a lot of people don't know who their local window installer is because it's not the sort of thing you buy very often. And so you get a lot of people competing, but consistently you're seeing the direct, paid and organic is the highest. The next one was for solicitors, which is lead generation. Now, solicitors are quite an interesting one because they really only started advertising about 15 years ago. But they do have a lot of them have been in business for sort of hundreds of years in some cases, or over 100 years in some cases. So most of the local brands are well known. So again, they've got 66% organic search, really high direct and very little paid search. This is the Google ads at the top of the search engines. And this is mainly because sometimes the PPC costs are prohibitively high. There's also quite a lot of lead generation sites and third-party sites, which is why they get referrals. But again, you can generally see that social is very low. So although in most, it does vary in most sectors, you can pretty much add up that direct, organic and paid search are going to probably be the top 90%. And then the rest will make up the difference. Now, one of the things that I need to just point out to you is that doesn't mean to say that social is not important. It doesn't mean to say that email is not important. What it means in the case of social is that most social advertising happens on social, and it's a lot of it's about awareness and getting people to think about that brand for the first time. And what often happens is if you do a load of social media, particularly paid social, which can drive quite a lot of people to your website, you often get a big jump in direct traffic and also brand search as well. So we find that often social media assists in the other channels rather than directly impacts. And that's just because the way that everything's measured, and obviously analytics is measured in a different way than the way that Facebook or Meta is measured. So I think this is really quite often a wake-up call for people. But it also shows that it can vary quite considerably, but depending on your industry and how well known your competitors are. But it also shows the importance of content because that will and SEO because that will drive a big proportion of it. And in the same way that social media often will drive people coming back to direct and organic search, paid search will do the same. So if you spend quite a bit of money, for example, if you've got an e-commerce website and you do lots of shopping ads, you'll also see an increase of these, particularly when people come back on their second or their third visit. Any juicy questions so far, Katie?
None so far, no questions so far at all. But please ask questions because I can put them to Anne.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the P and the O and the E. So we're going to do paid media first. So first of all, I've got the menu from our website, which I thought was a really good way of sort of showing you how we break it out. We use this sort of process or way of describing our campaigns as discovery, launch, optimize, and manage. You can see what we're following the space theme, which actually is being slowly retired. That was our 15th birthday theme, and of course now it's our 16th birthday. So we've grown out of the space theme now. So you've got the sort of the consultancy and the audits. You've got the different channels. So we talk about paid search, which is Google and Bing predominantly, paid social, which is all the social platforms, paid display, which is the banner and YouTube ads and video ads that you see around the internet. Then you've got shopping and marketplaces such as Amazon. These are the ones that you tend to pay on a cost per conversion or a commission basis. And then you've got some of the broadcast media, which we're not going to be talking about today. And then you've got the process of optimizing and managing it. And I've also noticed we've got affiliate marketing in over there, which I do mention in as one of the sort of shopping commission-based ones. My cat must be hungry because he never comes and sees me. It used to be his little brother, but unfortunately he's not with us anymore. So I think he's going to come and say hello again. So the first thing we want to talk about is search and text ads. So this is where you've traditionally found the key phrases that you want to be found for. So you do key phrase research, but there is a different type of search ads called dynamic search ads, which I've likened to almost paid SEO. And what happens with those is that instead of you actually going and finding key phrases, you can use the website as almost like the guide to Google to determine what you get found for. So, for example, if you were an e-commerce website, for example, Charles and Bentley, they're our home and garden, and you were selling garden furniture, you're not really sure what key phrases people are going to search for. And so what happens is instead of creating hundreds of text campaigns, if this was a new campaign, you can quickly set up these DSAs. And as soon as the level of demands starts to increase, then these will trigger. And then you can always go in and add more text campaigns separately. And so they look pretty similar. You can see they've got sponsored at the top. They've often got an image. They've got all these extensions underneath. And then you've got things like your reviews, stars, and all these other things to make this stand out. And the way that these ads work, we create these responsive ads where you offer 3 or more titles, 3 or more descriptions, and then Google's AI machine learning algorithm works out what's the best combination. So the advantage of this, of course, is it's really quickly to set up. There's so much volume out there, and then you can determine how much you want to pay, and you only pay when somebody actually clicks on your ad. So it's a sort of an evolution from something that's been there for over 15 years. I mean, I was using Google Ads back in 2004. And although it's going more and more towards automation with things like DSAs and automated bidding, the process of deciding the key phrases, your ads and your landing pages is pretty much unchanged after all this time. Now, shopping ads have been around for a while, but they've evolved quite rapidly. And if you've got an e-commerce website, you often see a whole carousel across the top, which could be as many as 40 different images and ads. There's 2 types. There's the standard shopping, which has been around for about 4 or 5 years now. And then the new Performance Max, which we've had a whole webinar on Performance Max in the last month. So I won't go into huge amounts of detail, but it's almost like Google's one-stop stop. If you set up a Performance Max campaign, you can use it for shopping. You can show ads on Google, Gmail, you can show them on YouTube, Display Network, etc. So the way that shopping ads work is that they're utilizing the data from your actual website. But in order to get that over to Google, you've got to create what's called a product feed. And you then use that to create a Merchant Center account, which is then linked to your Google Ads account. So it's like a sort of daisy chain of website, feed, Merchant Center, then Google Ads. So that means you don't have to literally upload thousands of images if you've got thousands of products. It utilizes the information on the page to or in the feed rather, which reflects what's on the page. And then when you click on this, you go across to the actual landing page or the product page. Now, the main thing that you're interested into with shopping ads is that you need to bring in the revenue that you're making from each of the sales that you make. So when you get a conversion, we track that using conversion tracking, and that conversion tracking will bring across into Google Ads the amount of revenue that you've made and the conversion rate. And that allows us to effectively work out what the performance of the shopping ads were. So we can do that on something called return on ad spend, or ROAS, which is effectively the revenue divided by the cost. And so what we're looking for is at least 5 to 1. Now you can do that with text ads as well. So the text ads or the search ads, which I've shown you, can be used for products, but we do find that these are particularly effective because immediately people can see exactly what it is. And then you've got things like the review stars and sales and promotions on there as well. The next type of ad is a display ad, and this is very similar to things like social, because what happens is that you're using this for gaining awareness, and instead of people being in the market and actually actively searching for particular key phrases, you're using a load of behavioral or intent and interest audiences that you can create. Now, if you've never done display advertising, it can be quite a lot cheaper than the search advertising. So it's very, very good for getting in front of a lot of people. And what I'd advise you to do is, if you've already got Google Analytics set up, in there you can go in and see the sorts of interests of the people that come to your website. And also, if you create a small segment, you can also see the sorts of people that actually purchase or convert on your website through something like your lead form or your goals. And it means that you can target people based on what they're interested in. You can target people on what websites they're visiting. You can target people based on your competitors, all sorts of intents, like, are they in the market to buy garden furniture? A month ago, probably nobody was, but the weather looks great this weekend. It's nearly Easter. So we're expecting the interest in garden furniture to spike and really sort of start this weekend as more and more people get paid over the week. They're doing their research and then they're going to get paid. So again, lots of different, it's mainly images ads. You can also have some video ads as well. Again, Google can help you create the ads by uploading images and text. But it can be very good for getting awareness, and it also can be good for reminding people about your brand after they've been to your site, and which is based on the concept of remarketing. So if somebody's been to your website already or already engaged with you, you can then remarket to them. And we often call this stalking, as somebody sort of an advertiser just sort of shows you an ad too much. If they get it wrong, it can be a little bit annoying, but if they get it right and the targeting's well placed, for example, abandoned cart, it can be really, really effective. Another type of advertising that we use a lot is video views in YouTube. And the reason for this is YouTube and video views in both YouTube and Facebook and Instagram are really, really cheap, about 1 pence. They're even cheap in LinkedIn, sort of 10 to 50 pence. And so YouTube advertising, again, is great for getting in front of a large audience with a low cost. But it's also particularly good because it can be combined with the channel in order to do remarketing of the people that watch the video, sort of like an engagement remarketing. So of course within Meta that's really easy to set up. So anybody that's engaged with your video, you can then send them a secondary ad. Or if you link your YouTube and your Google Ads together, again, that secondary ad works really well. It also works really well within LinkedIn and some of the other social channels as well. And what you're effectively doing in that particular type of campaign is you're using the video as a filtering mechanism, use it to educate and try and sort of work out who's interested and who isn't. Okay, so what's new in PPC then? So a lot of what's happened in PPC in the last year has been around the automation and the AI and the Performance Max campaigns, because in the case of Performance Max, you don't provide any key phrases. You provide a little bit of a hint of what audience you want. You provide additional assets like video and search ads, but basically Google does all the work for you. So let's have a look at some of the big things that we are interested in. Now, I mentioned really quickly in passing about how important it is to set up tracking or conversion tracking. And I talked about the fact that you can set up a tracking pixel, which would allow us to identify that people have been to a thank you page that happened at the end of the sale or after they fill in the form. In exactly the same way that if you currently use Google Analytics, you can create a goal based on the people that go to that thank you page. Okay. Now, we know that a lot of people are still importing analytics data into Google Ads, and we absolutely recommend that you get away from that because the way that Google Analytics and Google Ads and any of the other platforms attribute and give credit for the conversions is completely different. The day is different, the mechanism and the tracking is different. So the data is never exactly the same. And also you really want to bring in conversions that actually have been tracked using the Google Ads Pixel or conversion tracking code, because it does allow you to do more sophisticated accreditation, or attribution is the correct term, to the different key phrases or ads that were involved in that journey or assisted in the process of getting that final conversion. So that's really important. I also just want to mention GA4. Every single opportunity to mention GA4 is incredibly important. I think we've set up over 50, maybe even more than that, GA4 accounts. And we're still knocking on our clients' doors, even though we've been talking about this for a year. Still, some of them haven't got round to it yet. And we're doing audits of websites all the time. And I would say about 20 to 30% of them haven't actually got GA4. But you've only got 3 months to go. This is going to be live and kicking by the end of June. And your GA3 data, your universal data, is going to disappear. Also, there's lots of privacy advantages of GA4. It's still a bit of a nightmare to use, to be perfectly honest. And so one of the reasons I've decided to exclude the technical stuff today is a lot of the solutions to get around the issues with GA4 and also privacy issues with things like ad blockers and iOS 14, which is the privacy update from Apple. They're really too complicated to do in context of today, but this is in the back of our mind. And if you are doing any marketing at all, particularly if you're doing paid media, you need to be aware of all these issues. Now, what a lot of the platforms are doing is that they're worried that a lot of their cookie data is going to be disappearing, if it already has. So, for example, Chrome has moved back again the date where they're going to effectively start to sort of devalue or remove the browser-based cookies. That means when you're on a website, as you go from one website to the other, everything that you're being tracked on as you go in your browser in Chrome, that information will disappear. So they need to replace that with other types of data. So one of the ways that they're asking us to do that is that when we actually get the data from a conversion, so this is our first party data, the data that belongs to us. So somebody that's bought something or somebody that's filled in a form, we encrypt that data and inject it back into Google Ads. And then that allows them to know who those conversions are, and actually be able to start to sort of see, sort of stitch this information together. So there's lots of stuff going on there. The other thing that is also happening is if you think of the concept of what happens when you're looking at client side in a browser versus what's being logged in the back end of the website as being the server side, there's a big move towards what we call server side tracking. Again, a little bit difficult to get your head around for the first time, so I'm going to take this off to a separate webinar. But the stuff that we won the awards, the 3 awards for, plus the large Paid Media Agency of the Year award, 3 of those was to do with the work we did with Books2Door on using server-side tracking and injecting that back into Meta or Facebook and Meta's conversion API. So this is a way of bypassing the problems if everything on your browser or on your mobile phone is blocked by things like Apple. So it's sort of getting us our data back, but in a privacy compliant way. The other thing that we need to be thinking about is the quality of the information we provide the ad platforms, and this applies to both PPC, paid search and paid social, and many other methods. As these platforms go more and more to automation and machine learning, they're doing all the work for us. So if everybody in the webinar room just relied on Google to do that for us, then how are you going to differentiate yourself? How are you going to get a better result than your competitors? So what we need to be doing is finding other mechanisms of using our own data to provide more signals to Google on the machine learning about what actually works. And so the sorts of signals can be in two or three different ways. So first of all, having better quality video and message and creative. So one of the reasons that we've invested in a creative team is if the same people are seeing our ads, then our ad has got to be better to attract their attention. So that's really, really important. And you have to do that at all of the stages of the funnel. So you need to get in front of them during the awareness stage, during the consideration, during the conversion stage, and also during the retention stage. Then also we need to get information from your website. So this could be in the form of the product feed data, which we talked about for shopping ads. But if we are thinking about something like dynamic search ads, well, let's get the PPC and the SEO team to work together. I've got a whole presentation on this as well. And because if we can improve the content on the page by really good quality SEO, make sure we talk about the key phrases that people are interested in, when Google uses that page to create dynamic search ads, the DSAs, then that content is going to be much better quality. The same with product pages. If you've got really good titles and descriptions, you're more likely to get found and seen, and Google's got more to be going on. So that's the sort of data that you can control. And then the final thing is, which I have mentioned above as well, is getting the customer data back into the ad platforms so that, for example, in a lead generation site like Annika, where we get 20 or 30 messages and form fills a day, if one of those is a real lead, I'm going to be really pleased, because most of it's just people trying to sell to us. And so what happens is if you've got automated platforms, they see that lead and they try and find you more, so you get more and more spam. It's a sort of vicious cycle going in the wrong direction. Whereas if you actually insert the qualified leads or the actual opportunities back into Google Ads by injecting that data back from your CRM system, such as Salesforce or HubSpot, then you're going to give it good quality data, and the more data that it gets, the better it works. And that's exactly what happened with the case study that won all the awards. As we got more conversion data, we knew that that was good quality, real conversions. Then Meta was able to find more people, and it was more similar, and the results just got better and better. And then the final thing is all the automation and AI. So first of all, if you haven't already watched one of our ChatGPT presentations, we're now on ChatGPT 4, although you do have to pay for ChatGPT Plus to get it. It's $20 and the results are amazing. If you also pay $20 a month, you also get access to the API. And I'll be talking about some of the work that we've been doing with the API in the SEO section. So definitely use ChatGPT to create the text ads. The other thing that we're working on with a couple of clients is profit-based bidding. So this is for e-commerce websites. If you imagine you've got two products, both at £100, one's got 50% profit margin, the other's got 20% margin. Really, you should be doing your calculations of whether the bidding was working on £50 or 20, but you've got to be able to bring that data back in to do that. So again, that's all about using the product feeds and the server side tracking to inject the profit value back in to Google and utilizing that data instead of revenue. So really, really interesting stuff. And hopefully we'll be able to report on some of that very soon. Okay, any questions, Katie? Because I just need to take a sip of water.
No questions so far. I keep reaching out, and I think it's going well.
Okay, well, I'm sure they'll ask questions if
yeah, just please ask. Yeah, I'll put them to Anne.
So I don't really want to go through each of these platforms. I do just want to pick out a couple. So the first one that I want to pick out of these specialist PPC platforms is TripAdvisor. So if you're doing any work with any tourism, holiday companies, destination marketing, that is really good. You can definitely look at that. Metro is really good for local businesses because, of course, you've got different metros, different parts of the country. And then if you're doing anything really techy, then or SaaS, then you might want to look at Reddit and Quora. And then Apple is used for promoting apps in the Apple Store. These are those horrible text ones, Taboola and Outbrain. We should probably put those together. And then AdRoll is has got a PPC version, but it's also used for some of the programmatic stuff as well. Okay, so paid social next. So what I've done first of all is I've shown the platforms that we mainly work on. We have worked on others. I've mentioned a few there like Quora and things like Snapchat are quite often classed as paid social. Sometimes they get they overlap a little bit. So sometimes people think YouTube is more of a social platform, but because you use the Google Ads platform, a lot of people that do paid search are quite familiar with YouTube. So you can see how it gets grouped into different ways. Now, they all vary because their audiences vary. So obviously, depending on the type of audience you're trying to target, whether it's B2B, B2C, also the age. So TikTok and Snapchat is traditionally the younger audience. Facebook is more universally used. Most people think that Facebook or Meta doesn't really work for B2B. That's not true. We've got some incredible B2B successes. Particularly, I mean, our boot camp, we can get lead generation for our boot camp for about £10 to £15 for an inquiry, which is incredibly cheap using a particular type of Facebook ad or Meta ad. LinkedIn is definitely B2B, but can be quite expensive. It's often 10 times more expensive than the others, but you would expect better quality. So one of the reasons why we're really keen on the sort of video ad followed by the conversion or the lead generation ad is because that can make LinkedIn more affordable for people. Okay, so the first thing you do once you've chosen your platform is you then choose your campaign objective. Now, most of them have followed the sales funnel approach, where you choose a campaign based on the different stages of the sales funnel. such as awareness, interest, consideration, conversion. Of course, there's lots of different types within there. So even if you just look at Meta on its own, you can have something like a video view ad for awareness, or you could use have a consideration ad where you're trying to get high levels of views with a carousel. Or you could go through to a conversion ad, which could be a lead generation form, or it could be e-commerce catalog ads. So you can see there's quite a lot of different types, and depending on whether you want them to stay on and be aware of you on the platform, or whether you want to take them off the platform and go over to the website and convert there. So lots of different approaches. So that's usually the first thing that you do. Then I just wanted to choose the fact that a lot of the ad campaign types usually involve some form of image ad. It can be in the form of a carousel. It can also have a mix of video and images together. There's even things called collection ads, which is almost like a mini website. Which is a collection. There's also another type of website which is completely gone out of my head. Hopefully somebody from the social teams looking at, which is almost like a mini HTML website within the ads. Then you've got things like carousels, you've got the lead generation ads. So there's a whole different types of ads there. But this is the creative that you actually make and you upload. So in the same way that we use display ads and search ads, we actually set the creative. Whereas if you want to do more on this, Rachel did a whole presentation on Meta ads a couple of weeks ago. Whereas the catalog ads are a different type of ads. These are what we call dynamic ads, and they're equivalent to the shopping ads in Google. But catalog ads can be used for other things. So, for example, you can use them for property, recruitment, that sort of stuff as well. So because that will have a feed from a property website, etc. So the difference between these is you don't actually have to create the individual images. You do need to create a feed in the same way as you do for Google shopping ads or Bing shopping ads. And in fact, in a lot of cases, you can use that feed and adjust it for your use. It can be used to feed your actual social shops. So if you go onto Facebook for an e-commerce for a company that has got an e-commerce website, you often go and you can click on and see the shop, and you click through to the individual website. But it can also be used for what we call remarketing, which is where somebody actually clicks on a product on your website. That page is all tagged up. And so when you then go and start searching around the internet, so if we all went onto John Lewis now, we went and clicked on a pair of jeans, depending on where we went, whether we went into Facebook, whether we went into Gumtree, whether we went into Google, because they've also got something called remarketing for search ads, we would see more prominently a John Lewis ad, which may even include, in this case, the image of the actual product that you were looking at. Now, like display advertising in Google, paid social work on the concept of audience targeting rather than proactive search phrases or placements. So you can see that the type of audiences, which you can layer across each other, so you have a combination, is based on things like demographics, which is location, age, gender, etc., interests, but also their behavior. So once you go onto John Lewis and start looking at jeans, what you'll notice is you'll then get seen ads, shown ads for lots of other jean companies, and you literally everywhere you go, you'll now be classed as in the market for being interested in buying jeans. So suddenly, your change in behaviour triggers the fact that you'll get shown different ads. There are special categories which have special criteria. This is following the Cambridge Analytica. The debate around that, particularly around elections and politics, but also things like to get away with stopping biases around age and housing for any discrimination. So these are the special categories. And also you can create what we call custom audiences. And this can be things like having watched the video, which I've already mentioned a couple of times. So engagement on the platform. Pixel based, so that's if somebody's been to certain pages on your website. We call that web-based website retargeting. Any uploaded lists, so this could come from your CRM list. Again, you won't get 100% match, but if you've got a list of customers, you can upload them. And then there's also lookalike audiences, which are similar to any of the ones above. And effectively what you're trying to do there is find more people in what we call prospecting, and trying to expand the number of audiences that you've got. Remarketing is where people come to your website. It doesn't matter how they come to you. And then depending on what ad platforms you're using, you add all the different pixels, and then you set up remarketing campaigns within each of the platforms. So you could use that in Criteo, you could do that in Google Ads, you could do that in Facebook, you could do that in Pinterest, etc. So it's all based around the concept that if somebody's been to your website, you want to show them an ad again, and you do that as a paid advertising method. So what's new in social then, paid social specifically? So first of all that stuff to do with tracking pixels, APIs, conversions, server side, everything that I was talking about before is really relevant, but actually more relevant, because more important, I would say, because so many people, over 80% of people, go to social platforms on their mobile phones, and because of the impact of iOS 14, most of the conversion data for iPhones was lost overnight, and over 50% of people in the UK use iPhones. So you can see that pretty much all that conversion data is missing. Some platforms like Pinterest, the only way you can get that conversion data is through their conversion API. So this is going to become the norm. So if you are using Facebook ads and you think that you need to understand server-side tracking, conversion APIs, we're here to help you. And secondly, if you've stopped using Facebook ads because they didn't work anymore, and previously you got really good results, that is exactly what happened with the awards. Come and talk to us, particularly if you're spending a lot of money on Google Ads and other channels to try and make up for that lost traffic. We'll get that back for you, and we can help you manage that and make that work again. So obviously, these paid social platforms are heavily reliant on AI in the way that they work, because it's quite different for paid search, where you set up a lot more things manually. So they've already utilized a lot of automation. But what you can do is create efficiencies from things like ChatGPT for ad creation. But you can also look at some of the other creative platforms like DALL-E, and I'm going to forget all the names of all the others, Stable Diffusion, all of those creative ones. The new GPT-4 has also got visual stuff in as well. So and there's even text to video as well as text to image. So all of that stuff can help you create the assets that you need to be more engaging. Again, we're talking about video creative for the full funnel retargeting. You also need to be thinking about using your customers as negative audiences as well, so they don't get fed up with seeing awareness campaigns when they already know who you are. And the individual platforms are always innovating. So the image on the right, this was an announcement yesterday that Instagram are now offering search ads, which is, they've not done that before. And this is because things like TikTok and Instagram are being used more and more for search, particularly on mobiles, when people actually want to see an image rather than a text reply, a text ad in response. So these platforms have got such large search volumes. I mean, the second largest search platform in the world search engine is YouTube. So this gives you an idea where we're going with this. So you can see that that's going to be really important. LinkedIn is going to be sunsetting or retiring message ads, which is going to be replaced with something else. That's the in-mail, it's called often now. Reels is the short videos to compete with TikTok. Meta have developed. YouTube's got their equivalent as well, which the name again has just gone out of my head. As soon as I try and think of something, it goes. TikTok's developing as a search engine as well. So this is going to open those opportunities for paid search and paid social sort of working together. And again, Instagram is offering search ads as well. I think YouTube is shorts, if I remember rightly. And as I said, what we'll do in the podcast is I'll actually have the specialists on with me, and we'll go through each of these in a lot more detail. Just affiliate marketing then, mainly used in e-commerce. In our clients that use it, it can drive 15 to 20% of the revenue. You normally go through a affiliate network such as Paid on Results or Awin. So if any of you are using e-commerce and aren't using affiliates, it's really, really powerful because you set the level of commission. So whereas we would hope to achieve, something between a 15 to 20% commission rate within paid search, that's equivalent to 5% ROAS is 20% commission. Because a lot of people have got quite low value products, it doesn't really work for them. So affiliate marketing is really good when you're brand new or you've got low value products, and your affiliate ads will be seen on sites like Quidco, where effectively they share their cashback is being paid for by the commission that you pay them. So again, if any of you are doing e-commerce and not doing this, definitely need to look at that. We can advise you on which platforms are the cheapest to set up and still get really good results. Marketplaces, we're not really looking at Amazon and eBay as a platform to actually put your products on today. What I'm looking at is the paid advertising. So you can see along the top when you do a search result for, I think this is garden furniture. The first one I've got, I think it was actually egg furniture. I was looking for these things, is this particular one. And you can see that it's an ad because it's got sponsored underneath. So again, quite similar to a very, very old Google shopping ads from many years ago. The platform's not particularly sophisticated, but they're adding more and more functionality, including display ads, where you don't actually have to be selling on Amazon, for example, to get those ads. So again, if you are in e-commerce and you are either on Amazon and you aren't getting the visibility you require, or you want to get more visibility for your product sales, then come and talk to us about marketplace advertising, because that is something that is growing very, very rapidly over the last 2 years. The other thing I mentioned is it's really important to get your creative side right. So this is the menu from our creative services. You need creative for social, display, make sure your landing pages are great. So that's the sort of stuff. And if you're even further along the journey and you need your branding, that's the sort of stuff that we can help you with. Okay, so Old Media. So I'm not covering social at all today. We do it, but a lot of I've actually put the wrong menu there. I'm really sorry. I think it's I may have messed up. Oh no, I've just copied it twice. So I'm not covering social anyway. So I will correct the slides and redistribute them for you before it goes on the website. But what we are talking about is SEO and content. You can see again the sort of process of going from discovery and setup, the different types of an SEO project, then through to the ongoing SEO as well. So I'm mainly looking at the 3 elements of technical, off-page and on-page SEO. So technical is the way that the website is built, the speed, the security, all of those sorts of aspects, the way that the page is basically indexed. Can Google get in, get the information out? The on-page is basically the content. You're very much in control of that. You should be able to influence it. Have you got the relevant content for the individual pages? Have you put in the titles and descriptions? Have you optimized the page, content on the page? And then off-page SEO or link building. Again, sorry, I just noticed a typo. That's meant to be off-page SEO. That is how you build the domain authority of the website. That is the bit that's really slow and difficult to do. And also we often use in conjunction with digital PR to help us on that journey. So this is a typical SEO process. And if you're not sure, the organic results are the ones on the left-hand side. There's usually 10 listed on the left-hand side. But then you've got things like your local SEO, which will often come up here. You often have the maps, you can have video and images. So SEO is pretty complicated. There's a lot of different aspects to it, but the actual process of what we do, it follows quite a sort of standard pattern. We, of course, do auditing. We established what the key phrases that you require. We create page plans. We give you the consultancy and the strategy. If you're moving a website, then we're going to need to help you during that site migration or site launch, because if you do it badly, you can lose 90% of your traffic overnight. We can help with both international and local SEO. So if you've got a website that's got different parts, for example, a recruitment or a plumber, something like that, they've got offices in different locations, then we need to make sure that you've got a Google business profile, which is what this is, and how that then maps in with local directories and citations. We have to look at the technical way that your website is built. We have to look at the content. I've noticed I've done that again. I've obviously copied the same thing across. And then we have to look at the very difficult and long-term process of link building and building the authority of your website. Then we've got the ongoing content creation and authority building. So technical SEO, this is where we use quite expensive tools. We're looking at things like the Core Web Vitals, which is the way that page loads, how fast it is, does it move around. We'll be looking at things like duplication, whether there's any errors. It's going to be a subject in the next couple of weeks Brad's covering. So definitely, if you're interested in trying to get your website higher in the rankings, it's the first thing you need to do. And quite often, the web developers are not very good at SEO, and you almost need somebody else to mark their homework, and then you need the fixes to make the changes. On-page SEO, this is about getting the right key phrases in the content. And so you need to get your title, the description tag, which is what shows up when you do the search, and then also the content of the copy. We are looking at AI techniques to actually do this for us. I'm not sure how I'm doing for time, and may sort of be a bit shorter time at the end. So it's definitely another area that we are going to be looking at, and I'll cover again in more detail when we come to the technical stuff. Off-page SEO, this is how you build the links and the authority. You can see that you've got a correlation here. It says the domain authority grew, the organic traffic grew. It's a bit uppy and downy, but you can see that this has only got this has got domain authority of 34. And really, you need to be above 30 to 40 before you start to get reasonable SEO. And in some sectors, above 50, because it can be so competitive. And then we've got a whole range of content services that we can help you with, whether that's image-based, text-based, or things like infographic as well, and also video. Once you've done an SEO project, you're obviously going to be writing more content. You're only going to have one service page, but you want to use tools like Ask the Republic, which gives you lots of questions and that people are asking about a subject. And that will help you to write content that will produce guides and blogs, etc., on your website. And we can also look at what's new. And a lot of that is about new strategy services, particularly around how you carry out the ongoing SEO, and also reporting, and also the AI, which I'll come on to in a second. So I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to flick through these. Reporting is going to be really important because GA4 is coming in. So your dashboards that you've had for a long time may not work anymore. So you obviously need to fix both your analytics and the corresponding reports using Data Studio, which is now called Looker Studio. What we've done with ChatGPT is you can actually use that to create individual content, and we've now gone to GPT-4. So you do need to upgrade and pay for that, and you've got a webinar link here, which you can use to go and look at the uses of ChatGPT within your organization. We did that back in January. But we've also got this AI site-wide content generator. I'm not going to have time to go through all of this now in any detail because I want to get onto PR as well. But effectively, this is a tool that allows us to use a mix of technology so that we can get product information database, or we can scrape the website using something like Screaming Frog and get all the URLs. We can create custom prompts or custom formula in Excel, and that creates the prompts which are required to get the right answer out of ChatGPT, because if you've used it, you'll know that if you put the wrong question in, you get the wrong answer out. And then we send these prompts through the API, and then that gets us our responses, and then we put them back in into a spreadsheet, which then allows them to be edited and used on your and loaded up on your website. And we're not talking about 1 or 2 pages here. We're talking about hundreds or thousands of pages. And we are offering this as a service. It's a brand new service. Effectively, what you do is you pay a setup cost, which is standard across all, and then there's a price per page. Typically, if you want to get a page optimized for, say, product descriptions, you're probably paying £10 to £20 a page. We're talking about pence to pounds. You know, it's really cost effective, but you will need to edit the content, because what ChatGPT and AI does, it's brilliant for creating great volumes of content for thousands of product pages or Amazon listings. It's really, really cost effective. You can create titles and descriptions and the actual content on the page, but it isn't good enough to load up without some form of editing and checking. This is because ChatGPT can hallucinate and make things up. But also, if it's a new product that wasn't around 2 years ago or very, very niche, it won't have enough information. So it's really, really important that if you do use a tool like this, that you've still got a person. I mean, we can do it for you, but you know, you're probably going to want to do it in-house to check it anyway. So that is a massive development that's going to speed up all of the projects that we work on. So what we're doing as an agency is we are still having the same amount of time from our clients, but we're just able to do a lot more work in the same time. So it's a win-win for everybody. Finally, the PR section. So I know I'm just running out of time. So if I just quickly go through this, this is our menu for traditional and digital PR. And if you think about the way that PR is run, it's often run as a third-party outsourced service. Most companies have to be quite big before they have their own PR. And it's all about building brand and awareness and managing your reputation. But because the links that you get from media sites can often be very high value, it does have the advantage that if you have a link from a online version of a publication, then that will add to your link building and the authority of your website. So that's why these techniques are often used together. And we use a whole range of tactics in the PR process. So you have the planning, the ideation, the content calendars. You have all sorts of different types of campaigns, which could be traditional, it could be digital, broadcast, events, etc. And then you've got that reputation and authority and outreach. And so PR now isn't just to media, it's also to bloggers and thought leaders and anybody else. And we can also jump on the back of news stories as well. So if you look at traditional PR, it's all about building awareness and reputation. It's often in physical media or media which can't be tracked. Although, of course, if you can get on the news, you can, people will search for you and they'll come across to you. Whereas what we're trying to do with digital PR is we're actually trying to get something on the web where that link will drive traffic and reputation, and then consequently will be used for link building and domain authority as well. And as you already know, this is really, really important for SEO. So that was a really, really quick run through. I'll just bring in some of the things that are new in PR, because what we were trying to do is lay the scene and give you a little bit extra. It's definitely focused on quality over quantity, particularly because people can write PR using ChatGPT now. And so you've got it becomes more about the distribution and the relationships and not just knocking out rubbish. So it has to be part of an integrated strategy. And although you can use some of the tools, actually the bit that's expensive in PR is the databases, the journalists, the contact time, and actually even paying for the privilege of being able to use, you've got to have copyright licenses as well. So the setup of running a PR team can be quite expensive. What we're doing now is having a much more integrated approach. So SEO, content, PR, all working together with an integrated strategy. And you now know that also works with things like dynamic search ads over in paid. So everything's working together in a more holistic approach. So what we're trying to do in a lot of cases is we're going for what we call strategic themes, where you've got a theme of new customer acquisition, brand building, and you're using multi-channels to achieve a specific objective. And that's why we're saying it is really important that you need to work together in that integrated way. So that's my presentation. I've just got a little plug for the marketing podcast. So before everybody has to disappear, if Katie, you could bring that up, that would be amazing. So if you want to see, I think we've published 7 so far. Another one's about to go out live, I think, later on today. And we'll nearly be caught up with ourselves, and then we'll be going weekly. And then the other thing is, if anybody is happy to give a review, that would be really useful as well, Katie. And then finally, were there any questions?
There was a question about pixels and tracking and saying, does it have to be on every page or just the home page? And I just explained that tracking needs to follow through to conversion and via the funnel goals as well. So you need it can't just be on the home page.
Yeah. So basically what happens is that you will have tracking depending on what type of tracking pixel it is, you will load the Facebook pixel on every single page. And then because it's got that data, you identify that which ones are your conversion points. So there'll be your thank you pages. So what we tend to use is a tool called Google Tag Manager to do this. And as I said, we're going to move the whole of the technical part into one dedicated session because there's so many changes on this. I think it's really important to bring everybody up to date with all the privacy, the server side, the tracking, and we'll do it one stage at a time. But it's really important that you guys are aware of this because any marketing that you're doing now, particularly in the paid section, could literally fall over in 2 months' time. We've had problems with things like GA4 not reporting properly, Data Studio, Supermetrics requiring new author, which is the tool that we use to connect Facebook and Meta and LinkedIn and other platforms through to Looker Studio. It's a minefield at the moment, and it's taken us a lot of time to get a head round. So we'll help you as much as we can. But was there anything else that people?
There was a private question about affiliates, which I replied. It was basically asking what were the main kind of websites. So I said, look at Awin, Affiliate Future. When I've managed affiliates in various roles in the past, you tend to find like it's 15 leading affiliates that drive the traffic and convert really, and it's mainly done on a like last click basis. So I just kind of replied to that one, and you mentioned about the cashback websites, Quidco, Top Cashback, and things like that.
They're all on all of those networks. So the problem is some of the networks charge a lot of money. So if you're new, there's a sort of a basic version of Awin, which is relatively cheap. Paid on Results is really good because the monthly management fee is only about £150. Whereas you've got some of them are really Commission Junction, which changed its name to CJ something, and Trade W. They're really expensive. They're sort of in the thousands to pay a month. So you've got to be really big to go on those. But it might be time for Holly or one of the team to do another talk on affiliates, because also you've got a lot of influencer affiliate networks now. It's not just blogs, it's and directories. It's extended to a sort of almost like another ecosystem.
Yeah, and the model, like the last click model that it was renowned for, They do things on first click and also attribute because of part of the funnel for consideration. So it's not all done as it used to be a long time ago.
Yeah, so a lot of people get a little bit concerned because they get a click from affiliate, and the affiliate claims the money, and then they've also got to pay for paid PPC as well. So you're getting that, you're paying twice. And so how do you track that? So the whole topic around giving credits to which channel deserves it and what doesn't is really problematic. And it's going to be even worse with GA4 because it's different from GA3. So one of the other issues that you guys will need to be aware of is that if you haven't got an overlap period between GA3 and GA4, you won't know the differences. So, for example, we've looked at data in the case study, the award entry, and we found that the Facebook ads, when they came through to GA3, they were 25% of what was recorded in Meta, but then GA4 was only 66% of what was in GA3. So actually, when you go to GA4, if you're showing a client your ads, they're going to be completely different to what you're seeing over in Meta. And that was based on just a one day click attribution. It wasn't loads of view through attribution, which is where, just to explain what that means, is that Facebook will often take the credit if somebody's seen your ad, let alone click on it. So there is a lot of subjects to talk about. Well, we'll leave that for another day.
Yeah, that's it mainly. There wasn't many questions today. I felt it was such a good introductory piece that I think that people, was just taking it in really.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, guys. Apologies for a couple of typos. We were bringing it in again from all the team, and I made some changes first thing this morning, and I obviously missed that. But we'll correct it on the website, and hopefully you found that really useful. So see you next week. Oh, do we know what's next week, Katie?
Oh, I might have to come back to everybody on that. We'll be sending out the alerts from Monday. So.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for all the hearts and loves. It's nice to have a bit of love on a Friday morning.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. See you guys.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.